Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the bitterly cold weather that we have spreading in at the moment. For the next few days the main issue is going to be with the temperatures and icy stretches as well. There will be some winteriness around, but I'm not expecting anything too significant. We'll also have a look at what's happening in the mid to longer range as this cold spell looks to continue all the way into next week and beyond. And it's next week, so in around 5 days' time, sort of heading Sunday, Monday, that is when we do think there could be a chance of significant snow. Again, could be widely, could be just in the south, could be just in north, east or west. We don't know exactly where it is going to set up. The reason for that is because we've got northerly winds at the moment. It's quite a dry direction. Generally, we need weather fronts to be pushing up from the south to see significant snow from a northerly wind, apart from sort of North Sea coast, which we'll still see showers around. And that sort of risk of weather fronts pushing up from the south starts to come in for around Sunday, Monday, Tuesday time. So we'll have a look at various precipitation charts today, which are all showing very cold conditions over the course of the next 3 to 5 days. Temperatures hardly getting above freezing quite widely. Wintry showers quite a lot in the north and coming inland at times in the east and the west. And then we'll have a look, as I said, at that precipitation charts for next week. And we'll have a look at the pressure charts for longer term, as it's quite unusual, but we're not seeing the end of this cold spell when it starts. So we can't see the end of it yet. There are chances it could end maybe next Wednesday. Some models showing later than that, and some even showing it continuing around to sort of the 20th of December point, so flirting with the Christmas period. That'd be really interesting if we did start to see that come off. So I'll have a look at that towards the end of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. Now you can see at the moment on the live radar we do have snow showers breaking out across parts of Scotland. Anywhere really inland at the moment is going to be seeing these snow showers. Again, definitely over hills, but turning more increasingly to lower levels as the cold air starts to sweep through. The cold spell really starts in the north today and further southwards, probably overnight tonight into tomorrow. So in the south today it still will be cold, but it won't be the bitterly cold weather that's coming tomorrow. More likely 4 or 5 degrees, whereas tomorrow highs will be around 1 or 2, feeling colder. Now you can see where we've got the shower distribution. That's generally where we're going to be seeing the showers. So Scotland against northern coasts, down across northeast England, perhaps parts of Wales, parts of Northern Ireland, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some coming in off the northwest as well when the flow changes into a slight northwesterly there. So parts of the Midlands, northwest England, could see snow and could see showers at times. Again, nothing significant, just enough to give a slight accumulation, slight dusting, and because the ground will be freezing cold over the course of the next few days, I would expect anything really that falls out of the sky from around Thursday, Friday onwards to be sticking around, really. So yeah, that's why we could see some disruption, even though there doesn't look like a huge amount of snow falling out of the sky over the course of the next sort of 3 or 4 days. Now, I've put on the temperatures. You'll be able to see in Scotland it is turning freezing cold. Look at that, widely into the lighter blues now, and that will be spreading southwards. And you can see even in the south, you're only hanging on to slight yellows there around 1 p.m. And we'll be widely into these lighter blues, showing the very cold Arctic air taking over. And I wouldn't be surprised, as I've said repeatedly, to be seeing some of those pinks and purples overnight, with sort of temperatures dropping down to minus 10 or lower. Now, if you do look at the weather warnings, we've got a lot of weather warnings around, mainly for ice, but we've also got one for snow across Scotland. Now, I generally find that when Met Office issue ice warnings, it's sort of a generally wintry hazards. There's not enough snow falling out of the sky to put a snow warning out. We're not going to see any significant snow at all, but snow could fall out of the sky. We could see frost, and they're just general wintry hazards of slipping and sliding. And of course an associated risk of a bit of snow around as well. So you can see where all these ice risks are. That's where I highlighted the shower risk over the course of the next few days. Again, could come further inland, could be slightly different. Some of these showers will be under little features that could mean they last slightly longer inland. So we'll have to see exactly what the UKV shows in a minute. But generally, these are the highest risk areas. So we've got snow warning from today, earlier today really, until midday on Friday. Again, probably expect this to be extended. And again, snow showers and icy surfaces, 10 to 15 centimetres, perhaps above 200 metres, and 2 to 5 centimetres at lower levels, some drifting and blizzards as well. High likelihood, lower end of the impact matrix, and then we have widespread ice warnings here. So you can see again, some destruction likely to icy surfaces from this evening until tomorrow evening. Again, frequent wintry showers, creating icy stretches. And again, we've got another ice warning across parts of northeast England from this evening until tomorrow. Again, wintry showers falling onto frozen surfaces, creating icy conditions. And you can see those warnings continue into tomorrow. And then we see sort of a wider yellow ice warning from 4 p.m. tomorrow until midday on Friday. Just widespread there for more frequent showers through Thursday and Friday. Again, could be some snow showers around, or wintry showers in general, falling over higher ground or to lower levels with the surfaces really quite frozen, and then we could see a lot of icy stretches as well, and that continues, as I said, into Friday. And again, I'd expect these warnings to continue out all the way until next week, but of course the Met Office will probably give us about 2 or 3 day lead time on those. Now, if you go over to the UKV now and have a look what it's showing over the next 5 days, now I must emphasise the main snow risk, as I said at the start of the week, will be next week. It will be coming in around Monday, Tuesday next week, and that snow risk could be significant. Again, we have to pinpoint it down, but we do think weather fronts will come up from the south and give widespread snow to parts of England and Wales. Again, we'll have to pinpoint that, but the next 5 days, as was in the UKV, is actually quite dry for many inland areas. So you can see over the course of this afternoon, snow showers into parts of Scotland. That's really the main risk at the moment. Some into parts of Wales, North East England and Northern Ireland. Over the course of the evening, more widespread showers push in, and all those showers further south would start to turn to snow. We see more persistent snow, perhaps into parts of Scotland, bit of a feature there, and into tomorrow. Again, main risk of snow is across coastal areas, but you can see there, just across the northeast coast, down into northern England, and maybe even the Midlands there, could see an area of snow pushing in that could give a slight covering. As we head through Thursday into Friday, again, snow showers in those usual spots we highlighted, but elsewhere inland it's fairly dry and quite cloud-free, and that will mean that we'll see those temperatures plummet overnight. As I said, through Saturday, we could see some of those showers move into the northwest there with the slight change in the flow. That could give some snowfall there as well. And then as we head into Saturday and Sunday, again, mainly seeing those coastal regions and just generally quite dry inland and cold. So if you are inland across England or Wales at the moment and you don't mind cold weather, then we're going to be seeing some quite pleasant days, maybe 3, 4, 5 days of a lot of sunshine and dry weather in general, but still very frosty, icy and bitterly cold. But, as I said, as we head through Monday into Tuesday and Wednesday, we will see those weather fronts head up. So it does look likely this sort of cold, frosty weather will only be lasting 3 or 4 days before it starts to turn potentially wintry into next week as we start to get some Atlantic systems and a lot of moisture starting to mix in with this colder air. Now, if you look at the upper air temperatures, you can see it is still freezing cold next week, and it's freezing cold at the moment. Very rarely do you see that 5 consecutive days. Pretty much the whole of the British Isles is within the -5 isotherm, within sort of snow-worthy air. So that is, really quite extreme, really. And if we have a look at the dew points as well, you can see the dew points come next week are even colder than they are now, just emphasising that established cold, dry Arctic air mass. And if you have a look at the 2 metre temperatures, you'll see hardly above freezing apart from today, really. You can see that 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 degrees in the south, freezing in the north overnight tonight. First real hard frost of the winter, and look at that, widely -1 and lower. And then as we head into Thursday in the day, you can see temperatures hardly rising above freezing in many points, maybe 1 or 2 degrees in a few spots, and maybe the far southwest getting towards 3 or 4. We're still not quite in the bitterly cold air yet. As we head into Friday, overnight temperatures, look at that, even in the far south, dropping down to -7 or -8. Again, across parts of East Midlands, North East England, East Anglia could actually hover only around freezing with a bit more cloud and maybe some winteriness around as well. Potentially a little feature moves in there, but it is so uncertain. Could come to nothing, or it could be an area of snow that gives it 1 or 2 centimetres. We'll have to see, really. And then as we head through into Friday, those temperatures will not rise much at all. Look at that, 1 or 2 degrees, maybe the isolated 3 or 4 in a couple spots, but freezing cold once again. And overnight into Saturday, again, minus 3 or 4 overnight into the day, widely 1 or 2 degrees. And again, same into Sunday, freezing cold overnight, and again the daytime temperatures, look at that, hardly touching above freezing. That is freezing cold on Sunday. Extremely widespread ice day there, and again, that's just setting the ground for any moisture that comes up from the southwest next week. It's going to be coming into extremely cold, dense air, freezing surfaces. Then we could see disruption with snow, because one of the big things we sometimes see when we have snow in the UK is we do get a lot of marginal snow, where the ground temperatures are above freezing, the air temperatures are above freezing, and it means that sometimes we get 20 centimetres of snow actually falling out of the sky, but only a few centimetres actually settling, which is a good thing for disruption, but it creates quite a messy picture. In this sort of scenario, anything falling out of the sky will stick and it will accumulate very quickly. So it could cause some issues, this sort of 5-day really cold weather leading up to any potential widespread snow next week, as it just means everywhere is pretty much prime for disruptive snow if we do see that precipitation fall out of the sky. But as you can see there, as we head into Monday, it is freezing cold. A lot of Scotland potentially getting down to the minus double digits there in northern and eastern areas. Now, if we do go over to other precipitation models, we'll have a look at the UK Met Global Run. Now, this is slightly lower resolution than the UKV, but it's the UK Met Office main sort of run, and it should give us a good indication of the snow potentially next week. Now, we'll mainly focus on the winteriness next week, but we'll quickly run through the next 5 days, similar to the UKV. So again, you can see those showers across northern areas running in, and you can see maybe some snow coming inland over the course of the next couple of days. And you can see a bit of snow there for Thursday afternoon across northern England, maybe the Midlands. Again, uncertainty with exactly how that does develop. Elsewhere, just still showers along the coastal areas, could drift inland at times, but are not expecting anything too significant. It's as we head into Monday, though. Monday afternoon, still mainly dry, a few snow showers around, and you can start to see weather front bumping in to the cold air in the southwest. Watch what happens when this heads in. Maybe rain in the far southwest. Always a risk when you get these sort of patterns. But then look at that widespread snow inland through most of England, Wales, even getting to northern England and Scotland again. Well, as to the extent of that weather front, the amount of moisture, the size of the milder sector, that will all decide the positioning of the precipitation and the rain-snow line. But regardless, heading into next Tuesday and Wednesday, significant snow pushing up from the south in sort of 6 days' time. So very interesting seeing that from the UK Met Office Global Run today. Now, if we go over to the GM run, again, we'll run through the next few days quite quickly. Again, showing a bit more winteriness across sort of central England there through Thursday afternoon. Very interesting seeing that. We're not seeing that picked up by the high-resolution models, so maybe it's just something that the longer-range models are picking up on that's not really there. But interesting seeing that. It could give some surprise snowfall across the Midlands and northern England through Thursday evening, and even spreading to southern England for a time. Beyond that, mostly showers towards the coastal areas, and snow showers actually coming more inland at times through the weekend. Very interesting seeing this GM run. Definitely piping up this snowfall a little bit more than the other models are showing. As we head later into next week, we see a little bit of a different pattern. The low pressure systems are a bit slower to progress up from the south, and what that means is we actually see a tightening of the isobars, and we see very strong easterly winds coming in, bitterly cold easterly winds really, and that's why you see all these showers coming in from the east, turning wintry as well, seeing a bit of a system across Scotland, Northern Ireland there, again, could see significant snow with that through Monday, and again a lot of showers packing in from the east, streamers potentially appearing there, bit of a London Thames streamer potentially developing there, and a lot of snowfall heading in from the east in general on those easterly winds. But the breakdown will eventually come, and what happens? Weather front bumping up from the south, significant snow breaking out across central and southern England into the Midlands, Wales and northern England as well. Again, something to keep an eye on, but this could produce significant snow once again. So again, both the UK Met Office Global and the GEM run doing slightly different things next week, but still coming out with a very similar outcome of weather fronts bumping into the cold air and potentially giving us significant snow. Now, if you finally have a look at the GFS, just to compare this as well. Again, another long range model, just to see what it's showing. We'll skip the sort of the next 5 days, as we've pretty much had a look at that quite well on the UKV, UK Met Office Global and the GEM. Now, if we head through next week, you can see wintry showers starting to come in from the east, so definitely similar to the GEM in terms of easterly winds, maybe some streamers developing there, but again, very similar with the weather front bumping in. Big thing with this is that milder sector shifted slightly further northwards, so snow really is only towards the Midlands, Northern Ireland and Northern England, with rain further elsewhere before milder air does take over by next Friday, Saturday time, and around sort of day 8, day 9 time frame. So this would be a very messy breakdown, would be snow initially before turning back to rain. So we'll have to see exactly what happens with that. But all 4 runs, or at least the UKV would hope next week, but the 3 runs that get out to the extent of the middle of next week, all showing weather front bumping into the cold air, giving widespread snow, at least for a time. The GEM and the UK Met Office Global will give it for quite a long period of time, and probably would pull away back out into France and keep us in very cold air, dumping potentially 10 to 20 centimetres of snow. So I have to see what happens with that next week. Now, if you go to the longer range and just have a look at that generally on the pressure charts from the GFS, GEM, ECMWF and the ensembles, you can see the northerly winds coming in at the moment, bitterly cold air, and you can see the reason why those showers die out towards the weekend, or at least sort of the widespread showers break out. There could still be little embedded features, as we saw from the GEM, is because the flow goes really slack. You can see very few isobars, which shows the wind speeds are much lower, seeing less convection around, but they're still under lower pressure, so it's still possible. It's as we head into next week, you see this big low pressure system out of the Atlantic, a high pressure system starting to develop towards Scandinavia. We do pull in easterly winds from the GFS, low pressure runs up and actually winds out, and we see south to southwesterly winds in the longer term, before potentially blocking, returning towards Svalbard and Scandinavia, maybe turning us bitterly cold again, perhaps for the Christmas period. But the GFS definitely breaking us down around sort of day 7, day 8 period there, with the Atlantic systems pushing in, that blocking, not holding out. But that's not what we're seeing on the GEM or the ECMWF. So one scenario here from the GFS is next Thursday time, we're seeing a breakdown in the colder air, low pressure running in, seeing snow initially before turning back to rain. So major snow event before turning back to rain and all melting. If you have a look at the GEM, see how that does compare. Again, a northerly wind in at the moment, turning very slack flow next week, but few more isobars there and slightly lower pressure. And I think that's why we were seeing precipitation on the weekend. So still little micro features like that, still not resolved, that could crop up and give some snow at times this weekend. Not expecting anything widespread or significant, but locally could see some accumulations that we're not seeing on the models at the moment. So that's why we've got to constantly keep up to date with it. And then we start to see easterly winds coming in. Bit of a southeasterly flow initially, but coming off a very cold continent, it is going to be bitterly cold, and we're going to be seeing very heavy snow showers with that. And then we see the low pressure run to our south. And look at the track of it, much further southwards. We've got a bit more of a block towards Iceland, up towards Greenland, and we're staying on that cold side of the jet stream, producing heavy snow across the Midlands into southern England potentially as well. Again, defending exactly on that rain snow line, but very, very warm, moist air pushing in. So this would produce widely 10 to 20 centimetres where the snow does fall. Now, one thing I would say about this is beyond day 10, so beyond next Saturday, it does look likely that the blocking has degraded around Greenland, and we would probably go westerly the few days after this. But regardless, it is still producing a 10-day very cold spell with heavy snow returning next week. So we'll have to keep an eye exactly on what happens with the GEM. But this is a very cold, prolonged, snowy spell, but perhaps signs right at day 10 of something a little bit less blocked and something more Atlantic driven. If you have a look at the ECMWF, again, a northerly wind at the moment, very cold, and as we head towards the weekend, slightly more slack flows, but a little low pressure system spiraling in for the northeast there through Sunday and Monday. For eventually, we go easterly winds with a line of low pressure towards our south, potentially producing bitterly cold conditions coming in from the east and heavy snowfall in the south as well. And interestingly, towards day 10, we still have huge amounts of blocking towards Greenland. This would sustain the weather, perhaps even into towards the Christmas period. And look at that, all this low pressure coming out of Scandinavia. Very cold air tumbling out into the Atlantic, and we stay very cold and potentially very snowy as well, with all these little low pressure systems spiraling around. So you can see 3 different scenarios. The GFS has a snowy breakdown but goes milder in around 8 days time. The GEM has a very snowy breakdown as well, hangs on to the cold for around day 10, maybe day 11, before slowly breaking it down. And the ECMWF at day 10 has no sign of the end of the cold spell, with a lot of snow around as well. So you can see from all 3 main models, we've got at least a week from now of cold weather, potentially snowy weather as well, especially into next week. But what happens after that is still up in the air. Now, if we do finish, we'll have a look at the Ensemble members. You see the latest GFS are very spread from around the 14th onwards, so in 7 days' time. You see the GFS breaks us down with quite a few of the Ensemble members, but similarly, there are still quite a few going very cold still, and staying very cold potentially all the way to the Christmas period. We generally do see around the 20th of December most return to around average. That definitely is a trend, and you'd probably expect that really in the longer term, but there is an increase in precipitation there, so whenever we do hang on to those cold runs with the increased precipitation, then we could start to see more snowfall mixing in. But regardless, the next week looks very cold. If you look at the new snow depth spikes, you can see quite a few snow depth spikes appearing at times, but again, no consistency at all. But some of these are very large, just showing you the potential there is there around next week. And look at the dew points again, freezing cold perhaps till around the 7th, 16th, 17th again, meaning most precipitation falling out of the sky will fall as snow with those dew points below freezing. And look at the 2 metre temperatures, widely around 1 or 2 degrees pretty much every day. And again, these are overdoing it slightly, as we know those overnight temperatures will be around the -3 or -4 mark. Again, these very low single digit days lasting all the way till next Wednesday or Thursday. So yeah, turning very cold, or remaining very cold really. And if we do just finish by having a look at the ECMWF ensembles, you see, interestingly, they're more inclined to the colder scenario, perhaps to around the 17th, 18th, 19th of December. You can see the operational and the control run staying very cold. Now, this is a bit of a contrast. The midday run for the ECMWF yesterday went very mild, but the GFS midday run went very cold. And now the morning runs, the GFS has gone slightly milder in its ensemble spread, and the ECMWF has gone colder, just highlighting the uncertainty we still have. There still are maybe a quarter of the runs going milder around the 13th to the 15th of December, so in around a week's time, but still probably around 2/3 staying very cold, and then sort of a few just staying generally sort of in between. So we'll have to see exactly what happens, but I think definitely another week from now of colder weather, and then potentially you can see all these precipitation spikes there appearing in around 5-6 days' time. With the colder air still in place, that's when we could start to see significant snow quite widely. There still could be significant snow around in the next week or so, or next 5 days in places, but I wouldn't expect it widely, and I wouldn't expect it to be too disruptive either. But as we saw in the GM, there is still the potential around for some winteriness later this week into the weekend. And again, we're just going to have to decipher those features and sort of do it on a day-by-day basis. So yeah, very cold weather coming up at the moment, or arriving at the moment. Very wintry potentially as well for some, and potentially widely wintry next week as we head into this very prolonged cold spell. I must emphasise how cold it is going to be out there, so please do make sure you take the necessary precautions. Make sure you do stay safe out there, as some areas will not be getting above freezing for maybe a week or so. So the ground is going to get very cold, and it's going to mean everything around it is going to get cold. It's not just a couple-day cold snap. Things are going to freeze, so please do take the necessary precautions. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you stay safe out there, and I'll see you again for another video soon.